change it in our Hey, everybody. Welcome to the partner call. Good to see you. Hey, Steve Pollock. How's everything going?
Really good. Thank you very much.
Nice and balmy in Ohio these days?
42.
Yeah. Okay. As always, I'll give everybody just another 3 minutes to come on in here. And we'll get started.
Hey, Andrew, am I supposed to be in on this call? I am, right? Or did I get accidentally invited?
Bill, are you evaluating or a part CyberCNS, or you're a partner? Either one?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
Open door policy. And so
it's been that kind of week.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I hear you. I'll go over the agenda. We've been doing this for 18 months.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So no, welcome.
What's going on? Hey, Andrew.
Hey there, Danny. How are you?
Good. What's happening today? You having a good day?
I am. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm ready for Friday though.
Okay. Where are you based, Danny?
Atlanta area, Georgia.
Okay. Very cool.
Alpharetta, Johns Creek.
Yeah. When I first moved to Tampa 20-something years ago, I thought, well, if you're in the South, I worked for ADP. It was my first job.
My wife worked for ADP too.
Okay. So we had onboarding up in Alpharetta, and it was in October. So I'm like, I don't need a jacket. I'll just wear shorts, sleeve shirts. And boy, that was a rude awakening.
Oh yeah. It does get cold sometimes, but most of the time it's in the winter, it's 50s, during the day.
Yeah.
Which I can deal with that, but I'm sort of, I like to the weather. I'm from
CyberCNS para la auditoría.
Hey, I'm from Sarasota.
Hello, it's Wilmer.
Can we mute Wilmer there, Shiva, or whoever's got controls?
Okay.
Sorry, that's it. All right, 3 passed. Let's do it. All right, welcome to the CyberCNS partner call. I'm Andrew Morgan. I help the team with their go-to-market strategy. As always, I'm joined with the CTO and co-founder, Shiva Shankar, who I'll hand the reins over to momentarily. Oh, Mark, only a balmy -34. Really nice there. So if you're new to the partner call, here's how it works. Shiva gives an update on what's been released, what's coming out. I'll monitor chat. If you have questions, throw them in there. We'll get to them. I'll interrupt Shiva at appropriate times to answer questions, or if there are ones that we can leave till when he's done with the PowerPoint going over what's new, we'll go to them then. And then we just open it up for open Q&A from there, things that might be on your mind, things that you might have submitted into support, questions that you may have. So with that, Shiva, I'll let you take on over.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Last week, actually, we had a little bit of a bummer because quite a few of our colleagues basically were down with the new COVID wave and with families, etc. So we were basically a little down. So I'm sorry that last week we couldn't kind of do the call, but we're back here this week. So what's happening on the CyberCNS product is basically like we are getting ready for the release at the end of the month, which includes basically a couple of things. One is essentially the ability to optionally turn on patching for third-party products. That basically is coming at the end of the month, and we've already tested it. Second, we are basically moving. We already talked about the new infrastructure, which is based off of containers and Kubernetes, which essentially will allow us to basically bring everybody into one consolidated kind of scalable pool. That basically has been something that we've been working on and basically testing it out so that there are no problems with that. Third, there were a few, I would say, high severity vulnerabilities that essentially we were alerted to during the course of the last week by some friendly folks. And then we actually spent the weekend basically closing up all those vulnerabilities and essentially making things secure. And we are basically engaging another person who basically will actively try to exploit the product to see if there's anything which is basically still exploitable in the product. But as of now, whatever we have known, we have basically closed down all those vulnerabilities. And then basically there were requests which came onto the groups, which are basically the Active Directory detail table, which basically is now there in the dashboard. And then basically everybody wanted this breakdown of assets by company in the global dashboards. So now that we have global dashboards, there are lots of requests which are coming into the global dashboard pages. And so please let us know if there are any things that are required over there, and we are happy to add those into the global dashboards. So global dashboards essentially give you the overview across all of the companies. It's not basically company specific. Earlier we had only a dashboard on a per company basis. Now we have the ability to create these global dashboards, and we are trying to basically enrich them as we go forward. We'll be adding more of these global dashboards in terms of assessments, etc. One of the areas that we are essentially kind of working on in parallel as a second parallel train is basically taking the whole compliance and basically converting those reports into something that is more useful. Today, we present you with a bunch of controls and basically tell you whether how many assets are compliant, non-compliant, etc. While it serves initial level, I think basically when you have to present it to customers and talk to people about it, it becomes a huge issue. And so what we have done is that we kind of revamped that system, and we were essentially building support for the Essential 8 in Australia and the Cyber Essentials UK. These two standards we've kind of built support in. And now as part of releasing this support, what we are doing is that we're revamping the entire reporting to make sure that everything appears as, like, for example, with CIS, we're talking about what is the top level control, what is your compliance from a top level control perspective, and then getting into individual elements of that control rather than basically going onto it like just an open control basis. So that essentially is something that we've been working on. The next one is basically, if you look at integrations, one of the things that we are essentially doing is that when you're doing a create ticket, people essentially wanted the ability to essentially do grouping of multiple remediations, even when you create the ticket manually. So now essentially what you can do is that whatever, these were the options that are available in the automated templates, which is remediation by asset or remediation by product or remediation by company. Asset does it on per asset basis, all the remediations that are required. By product basically says, say for example, there is Zoom or Internet Explorer. So it creates one ticket per product. And last but not the least is remediation by company, where basically for a certain company, it basically creates all the assets basically required for that company over there. So the point is that whatever we were doing in the automated part, we've also brought it into the manual basically creation of tickets. Again, integrations this week, one of the biggest integrations we're releasing is ServiceNow. So this essentially will have the same set of integrations that we have with the PSA in terms of being able to open service tickets and incidents and basically get that into ServiceNow. So this was requested by quite a few partners. So we basically have put this into place. Again, complete MFA management in terms of being able to delete an MFA, reset an MFA, all of that stuff basically has been provided in this release. So you will be able to kind of manage the whole MFA this thing. And then, of course, basically there were some global dashboards of Log4j, etc., which basically we had added last week, and we basically made sure that those were put in there. And a bulk of our work this week has been focused on essentially if you look at the assessment reports, we basically made it easier for you to basically start assessments, run assessments, and also the assessment report that essentially comes out. We basically have made it something that you can print out. Earlier, the paging, etc., was a little bit off, and now we basically created proper paging structures, etc. So I think a few partners have run this. They've given us feedback on some of these items. We've reverted back to them. So we would like to hear feedback from you in terms of any new things that you're seeing in terms of assessments, and try out the assessments module. And most importantly, one of the things that I saw, which was a discussion that is happening now, we want to essentially enable this whole assessment module to be something that you can use as a very simple sales tool. If you're finding anything that is basically clunky or basically not clear, or something that needs to be changed so that your experience of using this whole assessment tool basically becomes easier, please let us know, because that basically is what we at the core want to do, which is basically help you do a security assessment of any new customer that you have, which gives you guarantee in two aspects, right? One is essentially you know the lay of the land in terms of what you are going to be managing and what is the level of maturity of that particular company. Second is like what are the policies, etc., which were implemented by probably an older MSP that was in there, which you can reuse, and what you need to do add on to the whole thing in case you're acquiring some new business. And third is basically from your staff perspective, in case there is any additional training that is required. So for example, they have certain equipment which you've not seen before, or a firewall that you've not seen before. How do you essentially incorporate that into your training plan is essentially what this assessment report is for. So if there is anything that basically needs to be changed in this whole process, please let us know, because we want to make this assessment tool as simple as possible for you to use and be able to get the maximum leverage in terms of getting back the data, but enough of data so that you don't feel like you just got some data, but you're not sure of what data it is. So we want to basically be like, not just, for example, Windows focused or this focused, but look at all your IoT devices, look at all of that stuff, and tell you what is basically there in the network. So do all the CIS2 controls, CIS3 controls, and CIS8 controls. If we essentially are able to cover these three, then you will have a very good idea of what you're getting into. So we basically released agents with basically multiple enhancements in the last week, basically, both from a performance and security perspective. And we have basically also enhanced some of the communication with the central server to make it more effective. There are basically certain permission related issues that were not getting back from the agent into the UI at that particular point of time. All of those also have been resolved right now and basically made available. There was one issue that was lingering with us, which was essentially on AWS. There was an issue where sometimes basically the IP address of the instance would get lost and your instance would become unreachable. So we initially assumed that it was basically a performance issue or this issue. We finally figured out that it was basically at a certain point of time, the AWS instances were losing their IP address, and they were not able to basically, the DHCP server was not giving them a new IP, and it just went into basically local IP, like it basically created a 165 address and basically sat there. So we essentially have an internal script now that essentially looks if that condition happens, and then it essentially restarts the networking on the Linux machine, and then basically brings it back up. So after that, what we've seen is that we're running continuous monitoring on all the instances. We have basically seen 0 failed instances in the last 6 days that we've basically put this new fix in there. So we are hoping that this particular thing will go back to normal. And last but not the least, we have, as I said, the brand new notification engine. We rolled it out last week. It was a very quiet rollout the week before last. We have not seen any major tickets come in saying that something is not working, etc. So we are assuming that the brand new notification engine that they've released is working well. And also basically this brings down the resource utilization And it also is a more reliable mechanism that we basically built in order to make sure that no notifications are missed basically from our side. So this is essentially what we've been working on the last couple of weeks. And as I said, we've been a little short-staffed for the past couple of weeks, but we hope to basically kind of quickly ramp up. But we expect basically next week to start announcing the preview of the major release that is coming next week, the end of the month, where we'll be adding patching. We'll be releasing the new reports for the entire thing where I talked about CIS and all these reports, new formats which we will basically be piloting next week. And basically the new Essential 8 and Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus for UK, those support will start getting supported. And last but not the least, we essentially will be also releasing a new agent that we expect will basically be at least 2x more performant than the current agent. So with that, I just want to ask if there are any questions, and then we can go over those questions.
Okay, let's see. Update will be limited. So, and I'm probably going to butcher the name. Is it Mercia? Sorry if I know I'm butchering it. He says the update, it'll be automatically deployed to on-premise customers, or do you need to run something?
No, the update will be automatically updated as long as basically we have your salt minion up. For anybody whose salt minion is not up, we actually send a notification as soon as we do a patch update, telling you that your salt minion is down, and if you bring it back up, it will go back up. That's it.
Cool. Henry, do you want to come on? You've got several comments in here.
Thank you. So we shut down our rapid fire account. Let's start with that. And we're blasting forward with all of our audits and assessments. CyberCNS. The command line version of it, where you could run commands against the agent, felt like it was a little bit more controllable. Like I was able to kind of know what was going on and scan individual machines, but using the GUI is certainly easier. I'll be able to train people on that probably better, but the biggest downfall right now is a lot of the prospects that we run across don't have Active Directory. That's obviously a huge selling point when we go into there usually, but from a scanning perspective, I don't see how to use the GUI assessment tool to scan individual workstations. And it looks like when I try to import the result, if I run the GUI from individual workstations and then try to import them, it's just making multiple companies. And I'm kind of I'm lost how to use the tool in a non-AD environment.
So Henry, it's very simple. When you create an assessment and then you basically import the results of the assessment into that assessment, and that basically can be promoted into a company. So what I can do is that if that is the case, then what I think we will do is that I will create a recording of how to do an assessment and how to do it in an Active Directory environment, non-Active Directory environment, and basically share it on the same channel where we are basically sharing the weekly videos. And I'll basically send a link to everyone who's there on the call today to basically so that you can look at that video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot those questions to me. It is fairly straightforward. If you basically there are two ways. One is you can even basically, once you set up the credentials, then it even can basically send the data directly to the cloud. You don't even have to download it and re-upload it, etc. So that essentially can be very easily. I'll make a video out of it, and by tomorrow you'll have that video, and then you can essentially just follow the steps one after the other.
Thank you, Shiva. That would be wonderful. And in doing that, you'll cover how to scan all the workstations in a non-Active Directory environment.
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, a lot of the reason there's value for people like us in the world is because a lot of these work group environments, they don't have the same password on every workstation. So You know, in those environments, it's often handy to like actually have something that we go run, kind of like the lightweight agent on each individual workstation. And we were doing that with the command line version of the scan. I just haven't figured out how to do that with the GUI.
So I'll send you a complete way to do it, Henry, and you'll
Wonderful.
basically see both those videos up tomorrow morning. And in case even after that you have any doubts, etc., please directly email me. I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Okay. And then again, Marcia, he said, Shiva, in terms of the assessment needed for a backup overview, deployed, working, failed.
Pardon?
He's wondering in the assessment if there's the possibility to get information on backups, deployed, working, failed.
Yes, it is possible. We are just basically building the integrations with the different backup vendors. So if everybody can just throw in like what are the top 3 backup vendors you want us to integrate with to get the status, we'll be happy to do so.
Anyone want to throw out a few? I'm thinking, Tim, what are you seeing? Can you come on a second? You know, like, is it Veeam? Is it?
Yeah, Veeam, I think, maybe Datto. Yeah, the Shadow Protect stuff. I mean, probably wouldn't hurt to support the Windows built-in things. Yeah, I would start maybe with Veeam and Datto as the beginning points, and then it kind of branches off from there. There's a little bit of everything, I think, out there.
Okay. Any other comments out there for what you guys want to say? Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Tim. All right, let's move on here. Justin Showalter. But if the assessment is to run from a home, from a home computer, do you want to? So is that a question back to them regarding the routers, Justin? Or is that a question to Shiva and team?
No, that was a question in regards to the other comments from the other participants. That's really all. It was an answer back to them.
Got it. Fair enough. Paul Rouse, how are you, bud? Do you want to come on and ask what you're saying about a global agent?
Yeah, wondering about from the global dashboard, seeing agent status. So if that agent goes offline, maybe there's some way to on there, but like a widget or something can be added. We just see the status of all the agents across various sites. So occasionally we'll come on one that's been offline for a while and need to get it repaired, and being able to see that globally would be helpful.
Thoughts on that, Shiv?
Yeah, we'll add that. That's not a problem. I'll get it added tomorrow. I'll just basically, I don't know. Srikanth, can we just basically put that in the list? I'll get that added tomorrow.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Sure. So Shiva, Mark's asking, basically saying, hey, do you have this? You could just show how to do an assessment, like, bring up like a Learn V2 and show right now, or?
I'm going to post the videos anyway, Andrew, tomorrow. So basically, as part of that, I'll show him everything. But what I can do is that right now, I'll just bring up Learn V2 while you're asking the remaining questions, and then show them where it can be invoked from.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Brian, I think that question was fair. So Shiva, he's like, hey, will the agents automatically get updated as well? I know you've answered this many times. Brian's new to the partner call.
Yes, all of our agents get auto updated. There is no.
Perfect. Okay, so have to ask Dennis, update on CyberCNS access logs.
But it is basically coming in this week's patch. It's already tested.
Okay, I'm on-prem, would like to move to the new so Shiva, is there somebody keeping a list? Tim Fournette is saying I'm on-prem, but want to move to new microservices based architecture when ready.
Yeah, we can do that. Not a problem. I will basically anyway be announcing it on this thing, so we can do this.
Okay. Chris Sears, you made a comment about being deployed in Huntress, some Shodan. Do you want to just come on and extrapolate on that? If is there a question in there or?
No, there wasn't a question. Somebody just made the comment about, if you're doing a scan from a home PC, do you really want it scanning that firewall as well? Or a PC that's at somebody's home?
Got it.
And my point was, it's actually with the new Huntress or agent that we deployed, their integration with Shodan, they'll look up any IP that an agent checks in from and just see what's exposed externally. And so, I think assessing risk in those environments when you have, company equipment connecting into company systems is very important. And I think we need to do more in that area and figure out what's appropriate to scan. So it's a bigger conversation probably. But.
Fair enough. By the way, for those asking, some people have posted, where are the partner calls posted and where will Shiva post this video? I just put in a URL into chat that will take you directly there.
Okay, so to very quickly say, look, when you basically kind of come into this, you have these 3 tabs on top, which basically is your company view, and then you have the global view, and the third one is an assessment view. You can get into the assessment view, and then you have the ability to upload the assessment if you've done it elsewhere. But otherwise, you can essentially just download the assessment agent. Once you download the assessment agent, you can install this assessment agent anywhere. The entire process of asking questions happens on the assessment agent, and then it essentially loads up the assessments over here. And every company that you basically create under the assessment basically comes up as another company over here. So this is basically an assessment. So you can essentially see all the data of the assessment from here. So each assessment basically is nothing but a drop down over here. So when you come back to a company view, that is essentially every company comes up over here. When you go to assessments, each of the assessments basically appear in the same drop down box, and you can switch between assessment, look at the reports, look at the data, all of that stuff exactly like you did with the other view in terms of basically looking at the company view. So, and then you can essentially promote this to becoming the actual company. And then once you do that, it basically moves into the company view and basically moves out of the assessment view.
Thanks
But
for doing that, Shiva.
I'll post a complete video of how you can do this, how you can come and upload the assessment manually, how do you do it over the internet. That entire sequence, I'll take a video and post both of those videos.
That would be awesome. Shiva, I bet also if you got it to a succinct format, what would be really cool is if you literally could embed it too. So like when someone's using the application, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It just pops right up. Hey, how do I do this? Okay. So got a lot of comments there. Is Rashalia on by chance? Shiva, if so, Rashal, is she with us?
I think she's on another call right now, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of comments on the backups in there. I just want to make sure that got.
Yeah, we
I can
capture the chat so we can keep a track of that, Andrew.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bear with me, folks. I just want to get back to where we were here. So Justin, yeah, did you get, I posted the weekly video. Anybody else asking where those are? Bob asks, Shiva, when you do the video assessment, can you please include folks using Azure AD?
Yep.
C2, need more of these trainings. When you say more of these trainings, are you meaning specific to the assessment or in general? If you could just maybe clarify that. And you're welcome to come on as I continue. I'm not sure who C2 is, but if you could clarify that, it would be awesome. Steve Pollock, you make a statement, but I know there's kind of a implied question there. Do you want to ask on remediation?
For the remediation, we had discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussions on the suppressing of certain notifications. So the current this week's patches don't make it look like you're not doing a good job. And we thought that an idea that we had on the remediation page where you could see a trend. So you might see all these patches are new, but working them down, it was 100 computers last week, and now it's 20, then it's 10, then it's 0. So to be able to see that, so you know that the patches are actually, our patch management then is knocking them down automatically. That was my brilliant idea. I didn't know if it made it in there.
All your ideas are brilliant. Are you kidding?
No, we're just working on that, Steve. As I said, we've been working with a couple of these items plus a little bit short stuff.
I know I was not, you guys are doing great. It'll be there tomorrow is amazing. So I'm not saying anything negative. So just wondered.
All right. Adam, related to what Steve said, do you want to ask that, or can you come on about the assets?
Sure. Yeah. Essentially, we just want to be able to hide an asset from a report so that it doesn't get included. Like we have our probes installed on our VMs. There are assets. We don't want them showing up on the customer reports to add confusion.
So you want to basically just have a suppress asset from reporting, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I'll add it to the list and we'll get it out as soon as we can.
Michael Bradshaw, how are people logging tickets on ConnectWise, other PSA systems on CyberCNS v2, or is that function not there? That function's there, Michael. I'm not sure if we're missing a question. Did you set up the integration? And if so, is it not working? And you're welcome to come on and kind of talk through that real quick. And if, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but we'll get a support case going. So just give us can you just give us a quick understanding what you mean?
Yeah, the integration's set up. I can't find the option where I would say for this critical vulnerability, please log a ticket.
Got it.
Yeah. So
notifications, you set up your notifications.
So did you set up the integration yet?
Yeah, I've done the integration.
Okay.
And maybe I just haven't done the notifications, but yeah, I thought I could just click on an asset and then say log a ticket for all these vulnerabilities, but I'm guessing it's not that.
So if you go to the remediation plan, you can basically go there and kind of create a ticket from there, or that is manual. And if you want automated tickets, then you can essentially do it from notifications actions. So you can essentially go into notification actions, choose what all events you want to be notified on. And once you do that, you can essentially choose the integration that you have set up, like the ConnectWise PSA, and then it'll give you the options, and then you can just get it set up.
Okay, mate. Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you, guys. I'll have a little play.
Awesome. Let's see where we go here. Bear with me. Julio, do you have any plans for adding logon failures or alerts? Yeah, this came up yesterday, Shiva, actually, other alerts on computers that are not part of a domain.
Yeah, we will basically be adding it. We are also adding the ability to, it's already there in the assessment agent. In the main agent, we're just adding it, where you can get all the local users and local logon failures, all of that, essentially bringing it back and putting it in there so that you can see it along with the standard Active Directory data.
All right. Matt just started the trial. Notice Juniper microtics are listed as vulnerable to every vulnerability. So, Matt, did you submit a ticket on that, by the way? I don't know if you can talk or not.
So the answer to Matt, I'll basically get this checked up, Andrew. Typically what it means is that for those specific versions or something, basically they have, in the CPE matching, they basically just put stars and left it. So we'll have to basically manually curate it. I'll get that checked up.
Got it. I'd like to have an executive summary report. This is Mercury again. Recommend. There is an assessment report for one-time assessments. It's in there. It's really nice. Just go to the reports, standard reports, and it's under there. Just make sure you're picking the proper company that you did the assessment on. Henry, how close are we showing compliance for CIS IG1, 2, and 3?
That's the one that I mentioned, Henry. End of the month, we are basically releasing the new reports that will show the IG, the groups, and basically your compliance within the groups and then the controls within the groups.
Okay. Also, Matt, is there any way to have tickets alerts for new ports open on only external scan IP ranges, but not alerts on internal?
I saw this ticket and my team is working on it. They will essentially, new open ports on external scans and internal scans will be 2 separate notification options that you'll see by the end of this week.
Jerry Johnson at Chris. So I think there's just a comment on Meraki for home users. Bill, would you run an assessment against a company that isn't in CyberCNS? Sure. Prospect, you mean, Bill? That's what the one-time assessments for often used for, or a security assessment if you're charging them. In other words, as a one-off. Yes, 100%. Where were we always? James Howell, were we always using Elastic with CyberCNS?
Yes.
Okay. Branding options. Adam, can you expand on your branding options question?
Yeah, sure, Andrew. So yeah, just on the landing page, and then when you click to sign in, you get the login page. That could do with some more branding options, white labeling it's called in the settings, so that you can make it look more like your own company look and feel.
Absolutely, Adam. Just one request, if you can just shoot me a mail with where all you think we should basically add those branding options. I'll make sure that all those places are brandable for you folks.
Okay, thank you.
Any plans to mount? Shiva 171 is in there, isn't it? Or 171A?
Yeah, so let me explain that. So if the CMMC version 2, level 2,
yeah,
requires that you have all the 320 assessment objectives mapped or resolved. And I just don't know if there's if there had been any plan on actually saying this report covers this particular 3.13, whatever it is. And I'm actually making that report. I'm actually doing that right now, going through all 320 using the different security tools so that we can go to our clients and say, here's your 320 objectives. The tools we provide cover 80%. Now you got to do your policies and procedures, but we're going to do these, and here's the artifact that actually shows the CMMC compliance at that point. And I don't know if you guys had already done that or not. You know, for Netrix, they do it. For SockSotter or some other places actually say, here's what we covered in 800-171A. Did that make sense?
Yes, Steve. So I'll basically take this and basically check this out. I'll shoot a mail to you saying what we can do. And if that is okay, then I'll get that implemented.
That's great. And if you need assistance with that, let me know. I'll be happy to. I'm working that. End of February, I should be finished with my 320. So if it's of any help.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, so C2, yes, I agree. We should have videos all along, but do you have access to all the documentation at this point? So we love the application baseline. However, there are certain cases we want a certain app installed on 98% of computers, but not the other 2%. Is there a way to remove a few computers, Shiva, when it comes to application baseline?
I'll add one more tag, which is called exceptions, and then you can basically add exceptions in the application baseline. So in that case, it will basically remove those from there. I'll make that feature.
Okay.
Could you make that if you look at the remediations, could you do that from the pop-up page when it says these machines don't have it? Could you potentially add the exception right there?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. Can we have custom DNS domain for our instance, Shiva?
Yep, you send a mail and we basically convert it. So not a problem.
Just send to support@CyberCNS. Tell us what you'd like. Robbie.
For Robbie, the answer is like, Robbie, can you just send me whatever ticket you submitted at the ticket ID? I will take care of it and basically get you a response back immediately.
Any plans to add web security scanners?
We are in the process of building a OWASP top 10 scanner, which will basically do scanning of websites and basically do the OWASP top 10 compliance. We may not be able to do 100%, but at least we can get to, I think, 70 to 75% out there. And basically also looking at any vulnerable libraries, etc., on the website. So that is something that we're working on. Will be part of a February 6th release.
Okay, I think we're up to speed. Steve Pollock gives you an amazing Shiva. George, can we add a way to verify credentials in one-time assessment? Shiva, can we add ways to verify credentials?
Yes.
Yeah, I can give you background on that if you want. It was pretty much, I was doing a one-time assessment and I went through the assessment and it completed, but it didn't pull in all the details. I had to dig in and eventually find out the credentials I was given were wrong. I would just like to have known the credentials were wrong before, I actually started the scanning process. Is that something we can build into the one-time agent as well as the probes to verify the credentials before we start scanning?
Yes, so we'll basically do it for the one-time agent. That should not be a problem. But what I'm more interested in is basically that if you look at it at the probe level, it might not be possible because the way that the probe operates is to basically pull information down, right? It basically connects remotely, pulls data down to basically say, do you have work? So we may not be able to get a response immediately, even if you do it. So what we can do is that we'll basically, if you initiate a credential check, we'll essentially tell you it'll take a couple of minutes. And then after a couple of minutes, we'll essentially tell you that a credential check completed. So we'll just implement that.
Okay, yeah, that's the main thing, was getting it for the one-time assessment.
Yeah, the one-time assessment is not a problem because it's running on that local machine. So we'll be able to do it immediately and get an answer. It's only for this probe that we have a problem, but we'll get that resolved.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Shiva, FortiGate and Meraki should be providing CVs, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we
It-
have a few partners of ours who basically pointed out because there was a mistake, like version 6.47 of FortiOS is vulnerable all the way down from 5 to 6.47. 6.48 is not vulnerable, and again 7 is vulnerable. So we were basically kind of seeing some vulnerabilities with 6.48. So my guess is that everybody's seeing those vulnerabilities.
Okay, Tim, take care. I think. Shiva, is Matt's question a support related one or something you can answer?
But not other groups. Yeah, I'll basically, I think one of the things that we're missing in the notifications, as I said, our notifications that UI actually honestly sucks with remodeling it, but also essentially being able to filter parameters saying that on these specific groups I want it is something that we need to add. I will basically try to push it for the 29th push that we have, but worst case, I'll basically get it into the 5th, 6th release.
Okay, we're caught up. With just about 15 minutes left. We have moved all our moved all. The only important things I'm missing right now is an Azure M365 standard report and back. Okay. Dennis. Credential validation scan just verifies the pros. So I think, yeah, we're pretty much caught up here.
No, actually, I want to say thank you for Dennis because he brought this up because this is something I wanted to ask. We are introducing a new scan called the credential validation scan because we are seeing this whole thing about people complaining that there are account lockouts, etc. And that is because we are getting a credential, we are trying it against multiple assets and trying to figure out whether it works or not. So if we do a credential validation scan, I think that problem will go away. The only thing is that what options should we have in the credential scan? Is it like, do I stop on the first asset that fails, or should I try for X number of assets? That is basically, I think, something that I have to give, because otherwise, like if it stops on the first asset, it may be just that that asset is not in the domain or something of that order. But or should we ask for which assets do you want to run a credential scan on? I really, if you can give us some guidance on this, this will be great, because I want to prevent these account lockouts and also basically make it easy for people to run the scans. But at the same time, we don't want to basically kind of create one more step that they have to do before doing the whole thing.
Hi, this is Des. What I would suggest is what you said, Shiva, it's a separate scan. And so basically I can go in and I can run a discovery scan that just brings back results. Here are all the assets that we found, and here are where we were able to successfully authenticate, and then ones where we were not able to authenticate. That way you kind of know before you run the full scan what you're going to get results back from and what you're not likely to get results from. Does that make sense?
Got it, Dennis. But what do I do about these cases, Dennis, where people have set their account lockout limits, right? Like 5 logins and it fails. So the problem is the moment I hit 5 assets, the account is locked out. So people are getting a little irritated saying that you guys caused the account lockout.
Oh yeah, yeah. Trying multiple passwords on the same account is going to cause lockout issues in some cases. I think probably you just try the first one, and then if that doesn't work, then that tells you have to go back and figure out what the proper credentials would be.
Yeah, so because what it tries to do is to basically log into multiple computers. So whenever it tries to log into those multiple computers and fails, that's when basically this whole lockout happens.
But that's going to happen with a full scan anyway, right?
Yeah,
just spread out over time more.
Yeah, that's the only problem that we are facing. Like quite a few folks are complaining that they're getting account lockouts. And so we want to figure out a way by which we don't lock out their accounts. Let's basically this. So I was thinking that one is basically, as you're suggesting, do it on the entire network. Second is wherever you're worried about account lockouts, we allow you to basically choose like a set of IPs where you are confident that these are IPs which basically are on the, can use this credential, test it on these. And if you are good with that, then continue with the remaining assets. So then we'll essentially do this.
Yeah, that's probably, I mean, I guess it is a little bit problematic with locking out accounts, even if you're going across multiple, if you're hitting failed logins across multiple machines, that will cause alerts with some IDS agents.
Correct.
What if you're getting lockouts with accounts that aren't even configured in the CyberCNS platform?
So if you've not configured, then you should not be getting any lockouts of those accounts, because it will never try anything that you have not entered in the credentials.
I'm getting lockouts for the administrator account, and when I disable the service, the lockouts go away. I never put the administrator in any of the credentials. It's just strange.
Maybe it's because Active Directory, it's seeing an Active Directory, because the Active Directory part goes and scans things that are in Active Directory that are not otherwise explicitly scanned.
When you try to scan, you were on what host were you on? Because the probe was on which host, may I know?
So I have the probe installed on a member server, and the lockout seemed to come from that server in my SIM for the administrator account. And when I go in and look at the probe and look at the credentials, I don't see the administrator's not set for anything.
Okay. Danny, one favor which would help us is that if you can basically the computer that it was trying to connect to when you got the lockout attempt, any chance if you can get us the event logs that you got at that time, that would help us understand like what was being attempted at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I think, yeah, there's Danny. I don't know how to. Corey saying, can someone provide a link to the assessment scanning? So Corey, you're asking for the documentation. In our online docs, is that what you?
Yeah, correct. Sorry, I just joined the partner call for the first time this week, and I'm very impressed with the product so far. But I'm working through a couple of the onboarding hurdles, and right now I'm just curious. Yes, for the documentation. So I've downloaded the single link assessment tool. I've ran the batch file, which then it initializes that web interface on port 8080. And then it's asking me for credentials, and I have no idea what credentials to put in there.
Yeah, so you want to, yeah, so here, I'm putting this right here, and that's the main link to the site. And then you can find an area called Discovery Settings. If you're doing a probe, those are probably the credentials you're looking for. Henry, quick question.
No, I'm looking for the credentials to log into the assessment portal once you download the assessment agent. It fires up a local web server on port 8080, and then when I go to that web server port, it's asking me for credentials, and my CyberCNS credentials are not working. So I just don't know which credentials to provide there.
Should I?
So I don't know if because I'm on a a hosted version for my eval, and it's not the cloud version. So I don't. Oh, it's admin/password. Okay, somebody put in there, Henry. Admin/password. Let me give that a try. Thanks, Henry. Oh, Eric Carlson has the same issue as well. Yeah, so Henry's right there. The password for the on-site one-time scan GUI.
Thanks for that, Henry.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Any closing, guys?
Yeah, I had one other question. It was about the one-time assessment report, the PDF. You kind of explain how the compliance assessment, how that grading works. For example, HIPAA. For example, it says that I have 216 compliant assets and I have 216 non-compliant assets. Can you explain how that gets reported on?
So basically, that was a bug that was basically resolved today, which essentially is, it basically looks at all the items that you're compliant with, and if it finds you compliant, it basically was putting it in the compliant assets. And if there are any non-compliances, it was putting you in non-compliant assets also. So if there are any non-compliances, all those will go into the non-compliant assets. And if you have satisfied all the compliances, only then it will go into compliant assets. That's a fix that we've put in today, and we are basically rolling it out right now. So you will basically see those reports modified very shortly.
Okay, my question is, would we have to do a full scan again, or are the reports just going to change on their own?
The reports will change on their own.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Paul, do you have any specific date in mind for third-party patching? Didn't you mention that?
29th of Jan.
Thank you.
Matt, thanks for being on at 2 a.m. Wow. We have a fair number of Aussie folks.
We're going to start Australia track very shortly.
All right. Good deal. All right, everybody. Wishing you all a fantastic week. And Shiva, any closing thoughts?
No, I just want to thank everyone, and basically, please keep the feedback coming. And we look at each and every of your tickets and make sure that they get addressed. So thanks to everyone for your patience in this week.
Fantastic. All right. We'll see everybody next week and or via the support queue. We'll keep in touch with everybody. Have a fantastic week.
Thanks, guys.